Okay, guys, so this video is intended to give you some information about the AP style argument, which is the third FRQ, free response question prompt on the AP test. So I'm going to give you some information about it, show you some examples of prompts that have happened in the past, and then talk about the ABC approach, which is just a cutesy acronym giving you some strategies for success. And we're doing this through Edpuzzle so that it is not only informational, but also practice. So every so often this Edpuzzle will stop and ask you to practice what you're being talked about, what's being talked about. So it'll ask you to apply the information. So first, what is this? So the argument prompt is the third FRQ. You have already written one practice argument response, that one asking you to make an argument about something being overrated. That was our pre-assessment. But the idea is that you are asked to write a short essay in which you are using appropriate and convincing evidence to support a claim responding to the prompt. The evidence is not given to you. You are not given any resources. You are asked to just take stuff out of your own brain, which makes this one challenging in a weird way because you are just expected to have information in your head that you are able to use on this. Some examples of past argument prompts, which you'll see they're fairly broad, like they could ask you about something that's totally relevant to your life. They could ask you about something that you've never thought about before. It's kind of a luck of the draw situation. But here's 4 recent examples. The first one asks you to think about controversy and to think about an issue, a national, global, or local issue and that you're familiar with, some kind of controversy, and to write an essay where you're considering the opposing positions and propose a compromise or a solution. That's one example. This one over here asks you to think about people on the internet and in other places expressing their opinions on a wide range of topics. And it asks you to think about whether it's supporting democracy, whether it's a worthwhile thing for pretty much anyone to be able to say anything they want. So that's a pretty broad topic. And then these 2 over here give you a quote and then ask you to respond. This one asks you to think about this quote that the average man does not want to be free, he wants to be safe. So it asks you how much you agree or disagree with that sentence. And the one over here asks you to think about humorists. So comedians, satirical writers, cartoonists, etc., and to either defend, challenge, or qualify a claim about them being vital. All of these prompts ask you to use evidence. So the argument prompts, as you may have noticed, they tend to take 2 forms. Either they will introduce some kind of big topic. So controversy was one of those. What was the other one? Public statements of opinion. So either they'll just give you kind of a big idea and ask you to make your own claim and position, or they'll give you a quotation from someone else and ask you to use that as a jumping point and to agree or disagree or to qualify the claim. What does this word mean, qualify? So, oh wait, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm not going to start over. Ignore the last 5 seconds. So we're going to talk about how to approach each of these types of prompts. And of course, being AP Lang, we have to have our little acronym. So we're going to talk about it in terms of the ABC strategy. So A is attack the prompt. So I really, really think that you should be marking up the prompt when you are asked to write anything, because these prompts have a lot of noise. There's a lot that you don't need to focus on. And so you should be drawing attention to what is important. So I'm always marking, underlining, highlighting stuff. It's really important that you know what you're being asked to do. So with this prompt, it's asking you to write an essay, okay, good to know, in which you take a position on the value of such public statements of opinion. So I'm going to highlight, pull a bold there. And you're supposed to support your view with appropriate evidence, which again is evidence that's just coming out of your brain somehow. So this is asking you to do something that we call qualifying a claim. All that qualifying a claim means, that blah, blah. Again, I'm not going to start over because this is a longer video. But all that qualifying a claim means, and the reason I just got distracted is that I'm using a different example now to show you that. All that it means to qualify a claim is to identify the extent to which the claim is true. So it's typically you limiting the argument. So you are adding limiting factors. So I think this is something that's best explained through examples. If you had a claim, dogs are the best pet, that's unqualified. You're saying dogs are the best pet, and you're implying that that's always in every situation for every person. There's no limits. Here are some ways that you could take that claim and add some qualifiers, meaning that you're limiting what you're saying. Dogs are the best pet for active young couples looking to introduce a new member to the family. That is a limiting factor there, you saying the type of person that it is the best pet for. Or, because of their hypoallergenic qualities, poodle mixes are the best pet for people who suffer from pet dander allergies. Again, you're limiting the argument that you're making. Generally, you want to be qualifying your claims pretty much always. Because this claim up here, dogs are the best pet, is so broad that you're setting yourself up for failure if you're trying to argue something that broad and that unqualified. Because people can automatically be like, what if you're allergic to dogs? What if I'm afraid of dogs? What if I'm a 2-year-old and I can't take care of a dog? Right? There's so many counters that people could have. So you want to be qualifying your claim. And some of the AP argument prompts will require you to qualify a claim, like this one. You're not being asked to agree or disagree with this quote by Mencken. You're being asked to examine the extent to which it applies. So that's forcing you to qualify his statement. So once you know what you're being asked to actually do, which again, you are figuring that out by highlighting, underlining, attacking the prompt, the B is brainstorm. Remember, you only have 40 minutes to write the essay. That goes by very quickly when you are writing. Most students that I've talked to do find it worthwhile to use at least a few minutes at the beginning to plan what they're going to talk about. Makes sense, because if you just go without planning, you might find you don't actually have much to say. So I think brainstorming is helpful because it makes you come up with the evidence and reasons behind your claim so that you know you're not just like going down a dark path where there is no evidence for your claim. So try to write a claim. I think you should start with the claim on the argument prompt. It should directly respond to the prompt. And remember, when you are writing an argument essay in AP language, it's not the most important thing if you actually believe your argument, which sounds weird, but it's true. Like, you can just make an argument and make a strong one without really agreeing with that claim, which isn't something that you hear a lot, but it's true. So you have a claim, identify 2 or 3 reasons that it's correct. Those are going to be your body paragraphs. So 2 or 3 body paragraphs is about what you should be shooting for. And you should have at least one piece of evidence for each of those reasons. Don't try to jam pack like tons and tons of evidence into each body paragraph, because you want to be able to explain how the evidence connects to your reason. So here's a prompt. Here is generally what I mean by a brainstorm. And I'm going to ask you now through Edpuzzle to apply what we're talking about, to take a look at this prompt. And the thing should pop up in a moment, asking you to write a claim and at least 2 reasons with evidence. It's popping up now. Okay. If you are having trouble thinking of evidence, it makes sense, because you are being asked to come to the table with stuff in your head that applies to this prompt. So remember, part of this test is showing that you are a thinking individual who notices and thinks about the world. So if you are having trouble, think of the acronym GOPHER. Think about things you know about the government, current events, your daily life. You can talk about personal evidence, that's fine. Philosophy, psychology, religious traditions, cultural differences, history, people, politics, scandals in the news, entertainment, movies, fashion, music, things you've read in English classes, science and technology. Think about everything that you have learned in your lifetime, and there's got to be something that you can use. Evidence in this essay can be anything that you use to prove your claim. So they're not looking for a specific piece of evidence. They're wanting to be convinced by whatever you are able to give. And the C in the ABC acronym, choose the order in which you're going to present your ideas. So look back at your brainstorm and think strategically about how to order your reasons and your evidence. People generally remember the things that come first and the things that come last the most. So you should take your strongest evidence and have it either at the beginning or at the end. And the kind of mediocre evidence that you're not stoked on, but you have to have it, put it in the middle. So go back to your brainstorm and number it so you know which order you're going to present your ideas. So maybe you decide, okay, this one's going to go first. So I'm going to put a 1 here. This one I actually think is like not that great, so I'm going to put a 2. And this one's going to be a 3. This is going to be the last one because it's pretty good. All right. And then from there on, you're using your brainstorm and you are just writing. You only have 40 minutes and probably at least 8 or 9 of them are gone after you've done this little planning thing. For your intro, give a little context. Make sure you're defining any terms that are ambiguous. So if you're talking about public values, what do you mean by that? Define it. Make sure it's clear why your argument matters, like why this topic matters at all. And remember, for the conclusion, that's always the least important part of any timed writing. Don't sweat it if you are only able to write like a 1-sentence conclusion where you restate your claim. But if you do have the time to circle back to your intro somehow, like you bring up the question that you opened your essay with, or you circle back to some detail that you had in your intro, that does read really nice. It shows this like full circle moment that graders love. Try and leave yourself a couple minutes to proofread at the end. Sometimes there'll be a really embarrassing, like glaring mistake, and it's just nice to be able to catch those. But remember, these are timed writes, and the graders know that they're timed writes. So you're going to be forgiven for stuff that you would not be forgiven for in a typed multi-draft essay. All right, this might be the longest screencast I've ever made, but we're done.